I am Vero, and you're watching Modern Immigrant. Welcome everybody to season 3 of Modern Immigrant. I'm so excited. I couldn't wait to start this new season and to bring new episodes to all of you, which thank you so much for being here and for all the support. Remember that we have new episodes every Monday. You can check out our Instagram at Modern Immigrant, and also don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any new episodes. This that you're watching here, if you're watching us on YouTube, is one of our hoodies from our new merch. Yes, Modern Immigrant now has a store, and you can find the different collections that we have. We have hoodies, shirts, long sleeves. Just know that with every purchase, you're supporting an immigrant cause. So go check it out on our website. I'm gonna leave all the links down below in the description. And for this first episode of season 3, I'm really excited because I'm gonna be talking to Chao. He's a life coach, and he emigrated to the US 11 years ago from China. He has an amazing story. We talk about identity, the feeling that you belong to a place and not feeling like you belong, those struggles, and how can that affect your body and your physical health. Chao is gonna walk us through his experience, what he learned. He also shared with us about changing names to adapt and how did that work for him. He's also gonna share about the services that he offers. So if you're an immigrant, you might wanna check out his work as a coach, because he really helps you find that thing that you want that's gonna motivate you and help you feel happy, especially if you are in your immigration journey. So I'm really excited. Enjoy this interview, and don't forget that down below in the description, if you check it out, you're gonna find all of the links so you can connect to our guests, and also on our Instagram you can check out a little more. So thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited about this new season. Enjoy. Bye. This episode is brought to you by the support we receive on buymeacoffee.com/modernimmigrant. Awesome, and here we are on a new episode of Modern Immigrant, and I'm really excited because Coach Chao is here with us today, and I can't wait to learn from your story. So welcome to Modern Immigrant.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
This is really cool that you're here and that we're gonna get to know you. And the first thing I usually ask all my guests is, when did your immigration story start? Where were you? How old were you? And from where to where?
Yes, the story actually started 11 years ago. So back then I was 22, and I came to the US for my grad school,
Okay.
and I moved straight from China to Florida. That's where my first place is. And yeah, this whole journey started 11 years ago. It's actually really funny. Yesterday, I
Mhm.
think that by the time people listen to this, it might be you know couple weeks later. But
Yeah.
yesterday, I just got my citizenship.
What? That's exciting.
Yes, so 11 years in making.
Yes. Well, congratulations, first of all. And that gave us some insight on the timing that it takes. And I know for a lot of people, it's even longer than 11 years. I'm also in that process. I'm very far from citizenship, but it gives perspective to the listeners, especially the ones that are not immigrants. So how did that feel receiving that? And yeah.
I was picturing this day. I was thinking in my head, all this like, first couple years was like, okay, if I can just get that piece of paper, if I can just get that citizenship,
Yeah.
everything will be much better,
Mm,
right? And actually, yesterday when I grabbed that piece of paper, says I'm officially the citizen of the United States,
mm,
it's actually just calm.
mm.
Because I was thinking I'll be like super excited, right? Like cannot sleep, let's party, and then all that stuff. But
Yeah.
I was like, I'm already living like the way I want to live.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. And I
And
think that's where we want to get to when we start talking about your coaching, because I think
Mhm.
that's something that we all immigrants were kind of like always expecting, right? For something else to change in order to be able to reach our goals, and it's not necessarily like that. So I'm really excited that you're here. And I wanted to ask you, go back to those 11 years when you arrived from China to Florida to study. How was that? How was that arriving to the US? Was that your first time here? How did that make you feel? I'm sure there were a lot of cultural shocks.
Yes, I love to share that story. When I first got here, that's actually my first time out of the country. I haven't even been traveled to any other countries beside China. So
Okay.
when went to Subway, have no idea how to order Subway.
It can be complicated, by the way.
Yes,
Even today, I'm always like, wait, what?
yeah. And then I walk in. I still remember to this day. And ask the lady who worked there, because she started asking me questions. Like, what kind of bread do you want? What kind of cheese do you want? What do you want on? I was like confused because I thought my English is good, but actually it was not. I thought it was good, right? I can totally handle this, but
Yeah.
actually it's not. And then she's just like, I just feel like overload, like my
Mm,
brain just like fried. I was like, wait, what? What did you just say, right? Because I can always like feel, because as an immigrant, I'll always try to like fit in, right? Okay,
mm,
if everybody else want this, I'm just yeah, I just want what they want. That's what I want, right? So
mhm.
I don't stand out as like, oh, I'm just no idea what I'm talking about. But
Mm.
that moment, I have nobody to just say, oh, I just want what she want or what he wants, right?
Or the picture, like I used to
Yeah,
point out the pictures, like that
right,
one.
right.
Yeah.
Number one or number six. I was like, okay, so here is a question I asked her. I was like, give me the most popular one. That's that's the only thing I can think of.
That's really smart.
And then she told me this. She said, everything is popular here.
Welcome to the US.
I was so embarrassed. I was like,
Right.
so now what? I literally just walked out the store and then I didn't eat that day.
I mean, it's just so difficult. I kind of want to go back to that moment when you said that as immigrant you were trying to, or you wanted to fit in, right? And don't stand out, because that really clicks with a lot of the interviews we have had in the podcast and a lot of the experiences I also had, and I still have until today. Um, what do you think? How was your experience in school? Like, were you able to kind of blend in, or did you find like another immigrant community? How was that for you, like going to school?
I think there's a couple of phases from me.
Mm,
At the beginning, all I can think of is I'm gonna find someone like understand what I'm saying, right? Going through the same thing I am going through.
mm,
So I tend to find that like all these Chinese immigrants come here for the school, and then we eat the same food, and then we just talk Chinese back and forth, right?
mm-hmm,
And I feel really comfortable there. But then going through, I think it's like second year, I start wondering like why, if I came here, keep eating the same food I'm eating, keep talking in Chinese, like why I'm here.
mm-hmm,
And then I think that's my phase two of rejection. Like
mm,
reject myself being immigrant. That was funny. I had this story I tell everyone, like second year, I find this English name for myself.
mm-hmm.
So when people ask me what's your name, I'll be like, oh, my name is Hunter. It's that's my name. So people will now know from that name. People will be like, oh, okay, he probably born here, right? It's not like he was like immigrant.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you can also avoid like I think as immigrants and with names that are from in our own language, you also avoid people asking you all the time,
Yeah.
what repeated. So I'm sure that was part of like changing it and having like some sort of like another identity.
Yes. And
Mm.
then people will be, because I felt like once I change that name, right? And then I will make more American friends. And then people will feel like, oh, okay, so he's not immigrant, so we can be friends with him, right? Yeah.
Did
And
that work out? Because I
that,
want to hear that.
yeah, that didn't work at all.
Mm.
That didn't. And that, I mean, we can continue talking about the whole journey, right? But
Yeah.
I think that part lead me to the start of this self-discover journey I called.
So
I
was
call
that
it,
the third part, kind of your
yeah, yeah,
third
like
stage?
I describe it like unbox myself.
Mm.
Really just look at who I really am. Because I always, when I grew up, in China, it was always like a blend in. It's safe. You just don't stand out, don't say anything, and you can underneath that you can do whatever you want, right? But just don't stand out because people always notice the loud ones, and then that's not safe.
Exactly.
And then when I came here, I tried to do the same thing, just fly under the radar and a little bit just you can say something, but don't offend anybody, right?
Yes.
You can say something, but pay attention to what other people's reaction. Like they might feel offended, then I stop. Or
Mm.
I will guess, okay, what you want to hear me say. You don't want to hear me say, China is good. Okay, so I'm not saying that, right? I will
Wow.
avoid a lot of conversation.
Mm.
And I realized that the third phase is I'm further away from who I am.
Mm.
I
Was
am.
that something, and sorry to interrupt you, but was that something that you can identify as a moment that hit you? Because I want other immigrants that are maybe now saying, wait, maybe I am right now, right? Maybe I am in phase two or phase one. When did you realize that you weren't being yourself? Like, did you start feeling uncomfortable? Because I know a lot of people can just continue to go on like that, right? And continue to live like that. But was there also like a cultural aspect of seeing that people here maybe behave differently? So you were like, wait a second, I better shift things, or what was that? Yeah.
It, I think at the moment was actually after college when I
Mm,
started working, and then I just fly under the radar, right?
mm,
And then people keep telling me that, oh, why you have to be so quiet? You just say something, speak up, right? Say something.
mm,
I was like, and then I start questioning like, what's wrong with me?
mm,
And then until that one day, I just fed up with this. I was like, okay, so I really need to find out what's wrong with me because I look around. Because once I left the college, it'll be less diversity, a lot of like Americans. Then,
mm-hmm.
because when you were in college, there's a lot of international students. The professor is more like they speak, standard English instead of accent, right? You
Yeah,
feel
and you see more diversity, right? Like you
yeah.
feel more welcome in a way. Mm-hmm.
Right, right. If you have something, you can talk to your classmate. They will be more like, "Oh, okay, yeah, there's nothing wrong here. We accept you, all that." Stuff. But when you start working, especially at the beginning, my career, I work in the construction industry. So there's a lot of like less educated people, more like they have their own
Mm-hmm.
opinion about things, right?
Mm,
And and then I was like, wait, if I keep following other people, I just feel lost.
mm,
And that moment, and actually, you brought up a really good point. And the moment I really started working, try to find who I am, is the moment I realized that sense of like not belonging here, it really caused me a physical pain.
wow.
Like I had this like abdominal pain. I changed like 5 different doctors, try to figure out, like the Chinese, we're trying to like figure out exactly what's wrong, right? But
Mm-hmm.
all they're telling me is like, no, there's nothing really wrong. Like maybe
You're
you can check
fine.
other things. Maybe you can go to another specialist and they make we can. I was I was fed up with that. I was like, I need to do something about this.
Mm. That is so powerful, really. Like I'm almost speechless because is your body in a way telling you, right? This is not okay. This is not who you are. And we're not very used to listen to those signs. And I think that we have to raise awareness on that and the mental health signs and the physical health and just really connect to what's going on. Like just seeing the process, as you were saying. I feel like as immigrants, we get to the country, the university, the job that we need to do, and we're kind of like on survival mode. Like we don't have time to ask ourselves, how are we doing? Right? Like that's how we feel at that moment. We're just like on the go
Yes.
until we can't go anymore.
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really my stop point. I was like, I
Mm.
really can't, because at that moment, because I'm the only one here in the US, I don't have
Of
any
your
family
family.
members or anybody. I really feel like that's my stopping point because I feel like if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die alone. And
Mm.
and then that's like really give me like knock me on my head. It's like, hey, you need to do something about this, right?
Mm.
And then that
Yes.
whole journey started.
Start. Wow, it's amazing. And when you, I'm interested in knowing what motivated you. And I know this kind of goes back to even before moving to the US, because you were saying that you're the only one in your family here, you're by yourself. What do you think motivated you to come to the US? I hear a lot of stories that, it's very culturally expected that people will go to the US, or family members dated, or friends. What was your connection with the US? Was it something that you always dream of, or how was that? Yeah, how that dream came a reality?
Yeah, my story is actually quite interesting because I have no idea. Like a lot of my friends, they start preparing that since like middle school or high school. They know they want to come to US.
Mm,
But for me, I just have no, like I have a lot of free time when I was in college in China. So I did my undergrad in China.
I get, okay.
And then I just went to library and I pick up the like a book, so which is the GRE test for the grad school entrance exam, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, I have time. I can start learning some English, right? There's a bunch of words, there's like a really thick book, has a lot of words. And then I just started reading that. And then that's where started my like the American dream journey.
Amazing.
Totally random. It's not like a planned or like, okay, I have this friends there. I'm gonna go there to hang out with them. No, I don't know anybody here.
I like that though. I like hearing stories like yours, because we should be able to go anywhere whenever we feel that desire, right? We don't need to necessarily have a connection. I mean, it does help, but it can be something as simple as grabbing a book. I hear people that said because of a poem they read, it's a book I'm reading, they're like, I want to go to that city, right? Because you're picturing this amazing thing. So I think that's really interesting. How was learning the English for you when you arrived here, studying a master's degree in English? I'm sure it was like a pretty high level.
Yeah, that I was actually preparing some recording devices, and I would
Okay.
carry that with me to the class, right? And then
Yes.
record what a professor said. I was telling myself I'm gonna go back to my dorm and I will listen to what the professor said, right?
Wow.
Never even use that.
Really?
never never went back and then re-listened. None of that. But I just, what? I was amazed. Like, I think we will be amazed, especially as immigrant, right? We can see from this whole journey, we actually will be amazed how much we are capable of doing. Back to what we talk about coming to the
Mm,
US, right? Start with that book from the library.
mm,
If I'm really planning everything out, okay, if the plan A doesn't work, what's the plan B? I don't think I will be able to make it here.
mm,
Sometimes we don't give enough credit for our just like spontaneous, right? Like we just go somewhere, do something, and then we'll figure out along the way. Instead, like, oh, before I go there, I better figure out one, two, three, four. If
mm,
I don't have a power, I better call this company, like all this stuff. And then it's just like a lost for me, at least
mm,
for me, it lost that curiosity and then that just randomness, right?
mm. Yeah, that finding the things, because sometimes we even get stuck in, and I know you probably know this as a coach, some people get stuck in the before starting the plan because the plan is too overwhelming, right? Coming up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I can't deal with that right now. So sometimes just like maybe making the number one a possibility, like you did, like, okay, we're gonna apply to the masters. Once I get in, we'll see. Once I get there, we'll figure it out,
Yeah.
and things really start to work out in a magical way, I think.
Yeah.
So I have a question, which I know we have been talking about struggles, but I really like to ask immigrants, what was like a struggle or a few struggles that you can identify from your immigration journey that were really challenging and maybe that you're still kind of struggling with?
Yes, I think as I mentioned earlier about changing my name, right? Really, for me, for a long time, it's really being myself. That sounds so easy, right? Just be yourself, right? But for me, I struggled that for a longest period of time because I feel like being myself means I'm still outsider.
Mm,
Like, okay, you want me to be myself? Yeah, I can be myself, but means I'm always gonna be an outsider. I don't like that feeling of being outside. I want to be the insider, right? I don't want to be the outsider. So
mm-hmm.
my brain keep telling me that in order to be an insider, you better give up your identity and then become somebody else, and they will accept you. That's what I struggle the most.
It's almost like the problem is more in the outside, right? Like, yeah, you like how you are and you want to be yourself, but then people are not welcoming you or receiving you the way you would like. So it's
Yeah,
kind of like, okay, who needs to change?
yeah.
Me or yeah.
Yeah. And then the second thing I think from there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now being myself is actually really, I think the second thing I struggle the most is not knowing what I want to do in my life. Because
Mm.
I do a lot of things just to please other people. Okay, you want me to become this? Yeah, I can become that. You want me to go to your happy hour with you? Oh, I can do that. But even I hate it. But I'll be like, oh yeah, sure, I will be there.
Right.
And I think by me doing all those things, it
Mm.
really like I truly believe, especially as a coach, I truly believe people really they do know what they want in their life.
Mm.
But doing all those things like people pleasing and then just say yes all the time. I cannot say no. Like, I can never say no to my boss, right? Doing
Mm.
all those things, I think we're actually pull ourselves away from what we want. And then people will turn around and tell me, "Oh, I don't know what I want. I don't know. I just don't know."
Yeah. We
That's
do know.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's literally my struggle because Mhm.
And we get so busy pleasing everyone that we don't have time to actually reflect on what we want. Like we do know what we want, but I don't have time for that, right? Like I'm just in this checking boxes and to-do lists. So how interesting that you're talking about those challenges because I feel like we don't talk about it enough
Yeah,
in the immigration journey.
yeah. I recently coached one of my clients. He he get married in like he has been in a marriage for the past 3 years, but he was not happy.
Mm.
He just married because he think that's a good marriage material. Like his wife is a good marriage material. So let's get
Mm-hmm.
married and then we'll have a kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he's not happy, and then he really like struggle with like why I'm not happy. Like my wife has a decent job, we have a savings, we have a house. Why we're not happy? Like what's wrong with me, right? But
Mm.
through the coaching, he realized that really he know what he wants. He wants somebody else. He doesn't want his wife. He wants somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
But he just keeps telling himself like, "Oh, this is fine. Like what you have is already like good enough. Let's just stay here, and then just everybody else probably like doing going through the same thing. So don't really, we talk about just blend in and don't really
Mm.
scream. And then we talk about all the other, and then that's really for me. I was struggling for a long period of time.
it's almost like the comfort zone is really not comfortable at all,
Right,
right? We
right.
think it's comfortable, but we're unhappy in that zone. This is what my family wanted. This is what, society expects. And I can, there's so many different things that I want to ask you and talk about, but I do want to talk. You're talking about the names and the identity and changing your name to fit in. And we learn in your case that that didn't work necessarily as you wanted. Um, was there a point where I want to go back to your physical health? Because that was part of the questions I had. Like, okay, you were feeling sick, you were feeling that something wasn't clicking, and that's connected to the identity. How did that resolve? Did you do some work with coaching, with a specialist? Did you figure it out yourself? Did you heal yourself through kind of working within, or how did that
Yeah.
end?
So yeah, I was because at the beginning stage, I really just tried to resolve it. Trying to find different doctors. Do the MRI, to go to the
Mm,
emergency room, do the scan. Try to resolve it. But it seems like nobody can give me an answer.
mm,
And then going through that phase is really make me feel like just desperate. I was like, okay, it got to be. I felt like there got to be something wrong with me. I feel the
mm.
pain, and then the pain is there. It's not like
Right.
I'm just
It's real.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm just like come up like just grab a pain from the air. It's like, oh, I have pain right now, right?
Mm,
But I think the moment, of course, I'm going through the phases, find the doctor, it didn't work, doctor says no problem, I'll change to another doctor, change like 5 doctors, right? After that, I was like, okay, so this is enough. I'm not gonna keep, the US, the medical bill is not that cheap, right?
not at all. And as an international student, if you were at that time,
Yeah,
it gets
yeah,
really bad.
yeah. So I was like, okay, I can like that's another reason I cannot keep spending money just to go like see another doctor, see another.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of just dropped that idea of there is something wrong with me.
Mm.
Because if the more I keep thinking about there's something wrong, I will find something wrong with me.
Always, totally.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I can just okay. Right now I sit here. There's something wrong with me. I'm gonna find or maybe my toe doesn't feel that good, right?
It's where we put the attention, right? Like, of course, I love that.
Yeah, and
Mm.
then at the beginning, I was so fight against that idea. There's nothing wrong with me. I was like, no, there got like two voices in my head. There's nothing wrong with me, and then there is definitely something wrong with me. Maybe it's cancer, maybe it's something they haven't figured out in the history. Like all the doctors, they have no idea, right?
Yeah, like you're gonna be this one case.
Oh, yeah,
Like that's what we think. Yeah.
yeah. And then sometimes what I did is I gave myself the permission because how I feel is like when that voice like something wrong with me come up, I
Mm.
used to just keep press it down. Like what I describe to my clients is I just like a beach ball. I keep pressing under the water. And then the
Mm.
more you press, the ball come back, hit you even harder.
So good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's why I stopped. I just give some room. Okay. Yeah. Maybe there's something wrong with me right now. And stop fighting. It felt like that's more powerless, but actually give me more power at that moment.
Mm. Yes.
Yeah.
And also kind of hearing what,
Mhm.
if you follow the steps, when you're sick and you visit a doctor and you did all you needed to do, then that's it. You can kind of drop it and say, okay, let's see what happens in the next few weeks. Like to me, for example, I feel better when a professional tells me I don't have anything because then I kind of do what you're saying. Like, okay, Vera, there's nothing wrong with you. Like maybe talk to my therapist, maybe go and do some exercise, but you know that your levels are fine. Like some people need that, like to see it in a paper and then move on, right? So I think that's really important, and it's a great advice that you're giving us that I think we can all use.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with what you said. Really, if there's a professional said you don't have any, issues, I would give yourself some room for yourself to heal itself.
True. Yeah. And I want to ask you something that's not in the outline, but it came up to me, this idea of like, I don't know if I have spoke about this in the podcast before, but there's this challenge, I think, of like going to the doctor in another country, in another system where they approach things differently. It happens to me. I come from Latin America. I thought things worked similarly in America, South and North, and then I realized that they don't work the same. And the relationship you build with your doctor back in Venezuela is different from here. Like, to me, going to the doctor here until today is very challenging. Like, the whole process and the referral and the did you have an experience like that? Like, was it difficult for you? Did you try
Yeah.
to find doctors that were aligned with your culture? How was that?
Mhm.
I'm just curious.
Yes. No, that actually a great question. Because in the beginning, I would just find the doctor speak Chinese, so I can talk to them,
Sense.
describe
Yes.
my issue, right? And also, I don't know how that works in Venezuela, but in China, it's like you go to hospital, you don't go to family doctor. So you go to hospital, and then
Yes.
you have your result the same day. You don't just go doctor, and then they send you go to do a test, and then they do a referral. Not like
The
that.
same, exactly. Similar to what you're describing in China. Like, we go to the doctor, we go directly to the specialist. Like, my stomach hurts, you go to the gastroenterologist and they tell you what you have. Here is like
Right.
a whole loop.
Right. And then
Yeah.
that's another thing add on top. I was so frustrated because I know there's, no, I mean, that was before I was just like so frustrated, right?
Yeah.
I feel like I know there's something wrong with me, but you tell me I need to make another appointment, wait another week, and then make another appointment, wait another 3 weeks. I was like, what if I die during this 4 weeks?
Yeah, no, seriously. And the other, I like just heard this the other day that was saying that in the mental health field, um, the issue of charging people through insurances and making mental health really expensive affects mental health. And
Yeah.
that just made me think about what you're saying. If the whole physical process of going to the doctor is so complicated, that's going to affect your health because everything is connected. Like, it just stresses you out. They don't give you a medicine, they don't give you anything. So it's just like a whole, it's very difficult.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I don't know if you have this experience. I had an experience. It's like the US, the doctor tend to tell you if they are not sure or they don't know, they will just tell you, oh, I don't know. It could be this, and that make it worse. Because
Totally.
me, I can just go back home and start Google this, and then always end up the worst case, and that always become like a cancer, something like that, right?
Always. It's always the worst. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like that either about some of the experiences I have had here. They're like, I don't know. You go figure it out. And you're kind of like, am I gonna die? Like, tell me that I'm okay. I feel like in Venezuela, you get that kind of doctors that are more like, maybe it's not the right approach, but they're like, you're fine. Like, you're
Yes.
fine. Go home. And then you're like, am I? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Like,
No, that's the in China, the doctor, same thing. They will be like, okay, here is you don't have anything. Here is some medicine you can take. Of course, we talk about here, US, we try to be cautious. You
ah,
there's a lot of liabilities. China,
yeah.
it's similar. Like, it might not be the best approach, but as a patient, I feel like, oh, I can just go home, relax.
Exactly. No,
Yeah.
yeah, this is really interesting. And I'm glad that you were able to, navigate that and figure that out. And I think the example of you trying to find doctors that speak Chinese fits really well with, what a lot of immigrants might be feeling right now. And I think that's an always a great way to handle it, right? Like, if you can at least communicate in your language, in your first language, that's great.
Mhm.
Um, did Before we talk about the coaching, how do you help immigrants? Can you tell us when did you started using, like, did you change your name back to Chow, or you use Hunter, or
Well, so
how
yeah, I actually never officially changed my
change it?
name.
Okay.
It's just like when I see people, and that's another phase of my, like, this past 11 years. I have this period of time, people coming in, like, sometime I decided I will be Hunter, right? Sometime I decided it would be Chow, and then come in, people actually, those two group of people met together.
I
They'll be
love
like,
it.
oh, so who is the Chow you're talking about? And they were like, oh, who is the Hunter you were talking about? And
Yeah.
that is actually my breaking point. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna owning who I am.
Mm.
I'm not gonna be like, oh, see those group of people tell me one name and the other group of people tell another name.
Mm. And it's also valid and okay to normalize that we're gonna be different too,
Yeah.
right? Which I think as immigrants, we are very hard on ourselves when we don't want to give up our culture, or like I'm a different person when I'm with my family, for example, and when I'm speaking Spanish. And I think I'm starting to accept the two Veros and the Veronica in Spanish and the Vero in English, and understand that they're both me at the end, because the experiences are also shaping us. So it's
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Yes. That's awesome. So
Mhm.
yeah, how do you help other immigrants? How this coaching career started for us to understand better?
Yeah, I think we talk about the whole immigrant journey, right? For me,
Mm-hmm.
I think for the past 11 years, when we like the beginning was like I describe it as like an unboxing process, going through all the struggles, try to just deny my own identity. That's not me. I'm somebody else, right? Try to people please other people.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the third phase, I start realizing I can do a lot of things. I can start try a lot of things because I've been in America for the third phase. I've been in America for a couple of years by
Okay.
then. I was like, okay, I can try all those things. But what I
Mm-hmm.
really want, I don't know. And then I start like doing a real estate. I become a real estate agent.
Nice.
That's like a lot of people be like, oh, that's easy money, right? You just show people houses and then you make money.
Yeah.
And that part really like teaching me a lesson is, really it's not like what I was doing before coaching is always just follow other people. It's like, oh, okay, they do this. That's what I want. Okay,
Mm.
that that sounds like can get them to a place I want to be. I would just go do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think coach really bring me back, right? And then that's how I help immigrant is to help them really discover what they want to do in their life.
Mm.
I think that piece, a lot of people are just because, especially like we talked about earlier, we're really hard on ourselves. We don't give ourselves enough time to even hear ourselves, not
True.
even to mention we actually really honor that voice inside ourselves says, hey, you want to do this? Yeah, let's do that.
Mm-hmm.
Most time will be like, okay, maybe my English is not good, so I cannot be the VP of the company because VP they all speak English perfectly, right? Or maybe my culture, I don't like the social, American
Mm-hmm.
culture, all about happy hours, networking, outgoing. I'm not like that, so I cannot be, successful in the U.S. doing my own business because business. What I see business is all like networking. You have to go meet a bunch of people, and then they all like you, right? Nobody hates you. Everyone likes me. But I'm so introvert, so that's why I don't think I can start my own business.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's how I help people to see because sometimes it's harder for us to see ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
but it's easier for me to see, especially after my coach training, I be able to see, okay, here's something you actually put yourself in the box, right? You put yourself in the box, and then do you want to change it or do you want to stay there?
Mm. And there's something really powerful in what you're talking about on how you help and guide immigrants through coaching, because you were describing this huge cultures, right, in the US, as in the workplace or in business, or if you go to school, right? Like you need to fit in this stereotype or in these boxes. But how interesting is that as immigrants we can reshape that, right? Because we can bring our own culture. Like you're talking about someone that's maybe an introvert but they want to own a business, they can,
Yeah.
right? You don't need to go through the process of maybe what everyone's telling you you need to do, because you can bring some of your own culture and how things work back home to you and make it work here in a way, right? And I think that's what's so beautiful about immigration and about bringing different cultures together, because hopefully in the future we get to change that idea that only VPs speak perfect English or look a certain way. Like, hopefully that starts to get shaken up a bit.
Yes, I think it's really start with us, right? Because
Mm,
I have a lot of clients which, they are like American born Chinese. They're already second generation, but that not feel belonged, that feel like, I have to behave certain way in order to be
mm,
successful, it actually passed along to the next generation. Because a lot of them think, oh, okay, my kids were born here, so they're fine. They're totally
mm,
American.
mm,
But they didn't realize that their own insecurity, actually, the way they show up, it actually passed along to their kids.
mm. Would you say that when you start finding out what you really want and discovering that and execute what you want is when we find that we belong? Is that how the process of belonging can start? By
Yeah,
finding.
yes, because at the beginning I was like feel like outsider.
Mhm,
So that feeling outsider, I really feel like my dream or my what I want doesn't really matter, right?
mm,
I'm not gonna stay in this country for that long anyway. Nobody like care about what I think anyway, right?
mm,
And really bring in like after I find that sense of belonging, that's when I actually really start listening to myself, what I want.
mm.
I am also part of this country. I make contributions. I'm also like a citizen, right? And then, okay, what I want. And then I stop to following all the other people. Like, oh, they all go there. Like before me, I was just like, oh, I'm gonna go there too.
Right.
Hmm.
That's so interesting. Yeah, discovering, well, maybe I will try a different way and see what happens, right? And start to feel like that's your way, right? That
Hmm.
you're not trying to adapt to things, and that just always brings a weird feeling, like when we don't do the things because we want to. And you talk about dream a couple times, and I know we talk about that in the email when you introduce yourself, which is this idea of the American dream, which I think in for a long time it has really hurt and affected immigrants, and we all come here with a dream, and then we're like, wait, what is it? So I wanted to ask you how identifying that American dream or quoting American, but that dream can help us as immigrants in
Yeah.
our journey.
Yes. I think the dream, I was always thinking about the dream when I first came here as like this shining rainbows and daisies, right? That's the dream place. And
Yes.
then after become a coach, I really realized that that day is never gonna come. Regardless where you at, you can have a tons of money, you still feel insecure or not
Mm,
happy, right? But for me, it's really just, you know, like I tell everyone, the feel belong is like feel being yourself.
mm,
How I define the belonging is like be yourself for a long period of time. But what I mean by that is really I help people to find their success
mm.
without compromising who you are. Yeah, because we always feel like we have to compromise, right? Oh,
Mhm.
I'm a stay-home mom, so I cannot have my own business because I need to take care of the kids.
We're always in this mindset of giving up. If I give up all these things, I will reach this. If I stop doing this, then I will be better at this. And but we're never like adding things, right? We're always putting ourselves in this situation of we need to lose who we are to
Yes,
be that CEO or that person I want.
yes. We talk about, having say no to the happy hour in the office,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like really we think the only way we can be successful in the office environment is to go to all the happy hours.
Mm-hmm. To say yes to every
Yeah,
meeting. Mm-hmm.
yes to every, and then whatever other people want you to do. Oh yes, I will finish. Yes, I can finish on time.
Mm.
But sometimes I think saying yes is not the only option.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. And then saying no sometimes can actually get you to successful, like to success even faster than always say yes.
I like that. Yeah, because we're really trained in agreeing and saying and being positive, right? That's something that really characterize, I don't know if that's a word, but yeah, when I hear about the American culture, I hear a lot of like people saying yes and being always ready and being always there. And yeah, that doesn't mean that they're gonna get to where you want necessarily. So that's
Yeah.
really powerful. How can, so are you right now, do you work as a coach only with immigrants? Do you coach non-immigrants? Like share a little bit about your program and your project, and where can we also connect? How does it work?
Yes. So right now I work with immigrant, and some of
Mhm.
my client actually is non-immigrant as well. Because I think a lot of people find the same struggle as of like they hit the glass ceiling or whatever, they're struggling in their life, right? And then I coach, variety of people, and we talk about relationship because that could show up in your relationship as well. How to actually find your relationship without compromising who you are, because a lot of time people come to the relationship think, oh, I have to please other people, the other person, right?
Mhm.
But the thing is, over a period of time, we're just tired of pleasing other people, and then we just revenge. We're like, I'm done, and then now the people, we actually get shocked. It's like, oh, what happened? I didn't do anything wrong.
And I didn't know you were like that. Like,
Yeah.
where was that person?
Right,
Hmm.
right. So yeah, so I coach a variety of things. I also coach on the money mindset for people who is like, immigrant. I came to this country. It's always like save, save, save. That's always the safest thing to do. Um,
Yes.
but sometimes, it's not saying that save is bad, but what I'm saying is save might not get to where you want to go. Right. So
Yes.
yeah, people, if they want to, find out what I'm doing, and I now offer the first session, which is 1 hour with me for free. So
Oh,
if you
awesome.
guys, want to hear my work, you don't know what you can get out, you can just, make a appointment, and then we can just talk for the first hour for free, and then I can help you through that.
That's
And yeah,
perfect.
and then you guys can find me on my website, which is the Chao Sun Sun.com, or you can find me on Facebook or Instagram at ISELF coaching.
Awesome. And I'm gonna add all those links as well, both in the intro, people probably already saw it, and then in the description too, so people can have that easy access and get to connect with you, that get to contact you. Like I feel as immigrants, we need to make as many connections as possible and get to connect with people like you that are helping immigrants, that are working towards improving how we feel. So I always say that, like, connect, and not in the networking way that might be stressful, but in this way, right? Like reaching out to a coach or checking out an email, following someone on Instagram. That's a way to build community in our immigration journey.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Chao, one more time. I could continue to talk to you, many questions to ask, but is there anything else you would like to add? It was really, really wonderful to have you here.
Yeah, I just want to leave everyone the one last thing I want to
Please.
share with everyone is who you really are so much more amazing than what you can ever imagine. So go find who you are. Don't stay inside the box.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much one more time, Chao.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you next week with a Spanish episode. Bye.